We'll just play. We'll just play in the garage instead. I'll admit on that's kind of on me because yeah, that game is a little bit intense for a Monday morning. So we'll revisit that some other time, and we will go to science and technology on the YouTube stream. Yeah, can go from there. Road and track. Here's a setup guide. A step-by-step guide to setting up suspension at home. Oh, it's for members only, though. The story is for Road and Track members only. Car production and workers. I think workers might have a better car production than that, but we need to set up steel and everything. Too much wobble pops yesterday from the Patriots game? No. How? I'm not a member. That's what it says for me. Yeah, here. I'll show you. Okay. I will go out into the shop. I'll see you guys. I can kind of read it. I'll see you guys out there in a second. Stand by for loss of signal from the office, as expected. Okay. Can you hear me? I was going to say we got the Freiburger special going over here today because I wasn't going to wrench. But this was my backup plan, so just in case Gear City laid an egg. And it's not a bad game. It's just going to take some time for me to understand it. And yeah, it's going to take some time. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Yep. 5x5. Good. Yeah. All right. So I have to set up the suspension on this car, and I'll admit I know what camber caster and toe is, but never done this before. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure that one out. Yeah, let me get everything configured, and then we'll go. And I'll probably go put some shoes on. 5x5, is the sync okay? Let that sink in. Welding with those sandals, you don't. Yeah. The sink is in the kitchen. There's no sink in here. I don't have water in this garage. Just to be very clear. I can't help with the caster front, but can with camber and toe. Yeah, Svio. All right, that's good. Yeah, the toe should be toe should be pretty easy. Everything's fully adjustable here. The only thing that isn't adjustable is the spring rate. So I'm pretty sure I know how to do everything. I just have to kind of sit there and look at it enough, and it'd be good if I had people here that knew what the hell they were doing. So I haven't let that sink in. No, not in this building. No. All right, so just give me one moment. I will be right back. I'm just going to go put some shoes on. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I got shoes on. All right. Okay. Let's get this sucker going. I don't think we need the tail for it today. It's not like it's windy in here. So I'm just going to put that down right there. Okay. I got to move this thing forward a little bit. I did drive it around. It's not... take it out of gear. Listen to this noise. Oh, that's just a lovely noise. It's a lovely bunch of coconuts. Stay. No. Put her in first. Okay. All right. It's fine.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
What do you call a peanut in a spacesuit? An astronaut.
Don't do that again. Don't do that again. Hang on, let me just get the YouTube chat up and running. You'll allow it? No, you won't. No, you won't allow it. This is my stream. Oh. Toe last, ride height first. Yeah. Okay. So
All right, let me bring everybody up to speed. I got to adjust the front suspension for this and probably the rear as well. This car is a car that I've been working on. It's actually not mine, it's a viewer's car. A good friend of mine, Ernok in chat, he's one of my moderators. It's a 91 Camaro RS. It's got a 305 with a 5-speed behind it, and it's got a 342 posi rear end that we actually put in. It's got rear discs in the back, full coilovers, front and back, full QA1 suspension kit. We got a QA1 cross member, or no, not a QA1. We got a Spone Motorsports cross member and a full QA1 kit. I'll show you. It doesn't look like much here, but underneath this thing, it looks like a spaceship, which is actually super cool. The thing about it is that I was just trying to get the suspension in. I was just trying to get all the suspension in there, and now I have to adjust it. Like, you got to make sure the tires are pointed straight, you know, like, so you don't drive down the road with the wheel like 90 degrees to the right or something. Time to break out the string and a level. Yeah. No, Raptor, so it's impossible to say. I'm not saying that out loud. I don't know why, but I'm not going to do it. Okay. So here, let me get the other cameras rolling here, and I'll bring you guys up to speed. I got to turn the other cameras on. So that's one. I got to get the USB extension for the other. The USB extension is in the office. My good USB extension. The shop wrecked the other one. Man, that Gear City was a weird game. It's not very intuitive when you're playing it, so I'm kind of like, maybe we'll put it in the after hours slot or something, because I'm just, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to kind of get through real quick. So, all right, let me get that. That goes like that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get it. I'll just try it another time. Let me get the second camera on. There we go. And okay, that one's working. And that one's working. So maybe you could see it a little bit better from this angle. The front of this car is riding way high. We have to fix that. Fix that. Yeah, it's riding way too high. When I adjusted the suspension, I adjusted it way too high, but then again, I didn't really know what was up. I've never installed a QA1 kit or anything like that before, so yeah, it's a little bit off. Like, you can see the back is way down low and the front's way up high. It looks like it's taken off going down the drag strip, which is good, but we don't want that. We don't want that, right? Yeah, we don't want that when it's sitting still. We want it when it's going down the drag strip. So, all right. I did clean up a little bit here in the shop. I had all the tools all over the floor and everything, and now we gotta set everything. So we gotta tackle that ride height first. I gotta get this thing a little bit more forward, and should probably move it a little bit to one side, a little bit more over this side, so I can kind of get at it, because there's a bunch of the old parts for this thing sitting on the ground right there, and it's tough to work on the wheel with that there. So let me get the keys real quick, and we'll go from there. Oh, there we go. Got to open up the garage, because I'll just start it up. I'll start it up and we'll move it. All right. I keep the keys in the office. No, I'm not telling you where. Ah, the sunlight, it burns. Yeah. Quit your belly aching, you weirdo. All right. I had this working. There we go. Cool. All right, so we gotta go, I gotta go that way with it just a little bit. Prepare for Titanic door noises. Oh, the hinges are shot. We should do a stream replacing it, but it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to do. That's a big job. Come on, baby. All right. Listen to that 305, that 5 liters of fury. It's got the wrong 5 liter in it, I'm not gonna lie to you. The truck, the red truck, oh my God. The red truck has the right 5 liter in it. Yeah, these hinges are totally shot. Yeah, it's not aligning with the striker. Frick it, whatever, it's fine, don't care. That's what happens with these F-bodies. There are bushings inside of that. And the bushings, they have like a brass bushing. So you have your hinge, right? And then there's a pin that goes through it and there's brass bushings. They are shot. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell. The door doesn't even shut anymore. Maybe we should, it's not even contacting the striker right anymore. Freaking Chevys, man, I swear. I've never seen a Ford do that before. Just saying. Just saying. It only happens on Chevys, and it's not even catching the striker, so now we gotta fix it. That's great. You know what you need to do to fix the hinges on that? You gotta take the bumper off. You gotta take the quarter panel off. You gotta take the hood off. And then you gotta take the door off. And the door weighs 100 pounds. It's like 48 kilos. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. All right, let me go get my water and then we'll get to adjusting the suspension. Fox bodies do it too? Why would you admit that, SVO? Why would you admit that? Just cut the doors off and leave them off. Seriously though, this is not good. It's not even contacting the striker anymore. Lovely. Lovely. I'm sure that's fine. Maybe we just bring her out here. Nope. Doesn't even want to close. That's great. The hinges are toast, Geek. Yeah, they're gone. They're gone on both sides, but now they're so bad opening and closing this. Look. Yeah, that's no good. It won't even contact the striker right anymore. There we go. Nope. Can't drive it around like that. That was working just fine until a second ago. That's great. Of course it breaks on stream. Why wouldn't it? All right. Well, now I'm annoyed because that's a project. That's a really big project. Whatever. Frickin' Mondays, dude. Yep. I sent you a link for the repair kit on Discord. As if I didn't know what a Dorman 38401 kit is. Hellfish, that's cute. Good joke. Yeah, I know. I know there's kits for it. I know. It's a big job. That's a lot of work to fix that stupid thing. If you guys want to see me do it, I mean, I know how to do it. Adjusting it is going to be a pain in the butt, but we don't really have a choice at this point because the thing decided to completely zonk out right. I opened and closed this door a bajillion times over the weekend, and it's fine. And now that what happened is the hinges got walled out enough that it can't contact the striker correctly. It's too sagged, which just is annoying. They find that the hinges just went. Congrats, you broke Ernok's car and it's on VOD for him to see, believe me. And man, I like this car. I think this car is cool. Sometimes I want to drive it in a ditch and just kind of leave it there, Fleetari style from My Summer Car. Sometimes. I'm just... Whatever. Put the keys away so I know where they are. I just want to drive it in a ditch and be like, oh yeah, sorry, it was stolen. I wouldn't actually do that, but it was stolen. Sorry. That sucks. That sucks that it finally went. It's real. This is not good. Can't drive it around like that, so now I'm annoyed because that's a lot of work. Crap. And I have to undo all the front bumper work that I did. I mean, I don't know, guys. Should we bother messing with the damn suspension? I can go buy the kit for that, but I'm going to be gone for a couple hours because I have to go get it. I know where it is. There's a bunch of local parts stores that have it, but they're not near me. Let's focus on the suspension for now, I guess. Suspension first, okay. Okay, so the first thing to fix is that the ride height is way too high up front. We gotta lower it, but in order to do that, I kinda need the tires off, or we could just try to get at the springs without it, but I don't really like lowering the ride height on a car when I'm underneath it. So, let's see, how do we wanna do this? Let's think about this. I have to adjust the springs. The springs are easy to adjust. I have tools to do it. These are special spring adjustment tools that come with the QA1 kit. They look like sickles almost, but see, they have teeth. Here, I can switch cameras actually now that I'm thinking about it. So these things have teeth that pick up on the suspension adjuster, and you can raise and lower the height that way. So we could do that when we're just sitting underneath the car, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just gonna be a pain in the butt to get at. The right way to do it would be to take the tires off. And if we're gonna take the tires off, we gotta raise the car up. If you had a 4-post lift, you could do it as one piece. Thank you for the insightful and helpful comment, man. I'll get the floor jack. All right, whenever I jack something up, I put a piece of wood on this because metal on metal is gonna scratch it. And let's be real, the performance kit, if I show you guys this, you're probably gonna be like, nah, you don't wanna scratch that up. So, oh, I gotta chalk the rear end, hold on. Make sure the car's in gear. She's in gear. Put Some stuff behind the rear wheels. I got more stuff over here. Where's the other stuff? I mean, we still gotta, I still gotta put the adjustable e-brake in there to get the e-brake to work too, but that's our stretch goal. Highly doubt I'm getting that done today, but we'll see. Ah, old motor mounts. It's a good wheel chock, good enough. There. She's not going anywhere. Yeah, the e-brake doesn't work, which is why I'm chalking the wheels. I mean, you should chalk the wheels anyway, but ridiculous. All right, let's get this thing up in the air. Those motor mounts make great wheel chocks. Rear wheels ain't even moving. Let's go. Okay, that should be enough. Oh, come on back now. What are you raising it from? The cross member. Just positioning the jack stands right. You don't ever want to get underneath a car that's held up with a jack. That's a good way to get squished. Okay. All right, we're gonna set this down now. It might bring the rear end of the car up just a little bit, but coming down. Like that. Because the only real good place to get at this is on the unibody frame rails, I guess. And that's behind the center of mass, so it brought the rear end up a little bit, but as long as these can move, we're good to go. All right, let me get my trim tool. We'll pop the hubcaps off, and then I'll get the impact and we'll take this stuff off. As long as the stands aren't from Harbor Freight. Those ones are not. They're from AutoZone. All right. My trim tool. Where's my impact? It's just like summer car. Where the heck did my impact wrench go? Oh, there it is. All right, guys, there could be some loud noises here with the impact gun. I'm just gonna take these off. Just taking the wheels off. I didn't tighten down these lugs too hard. They're just cinched in with the impact wrench. I didn't torque them to spec. Yes, I was driving around on this, but I wasn't driving around on it for very long. I took it down to the driveway. I have like a dirt path that comes up to the garage, and I just drove it down there, out of the driveway, around the block and back. It's not very far. I know you really want to torque these to specifications. I know. I had a bad experience once. I had a bad experience. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what happened. I didn't lose a tire going 70 miles an hour down the highway. Just put that over there. It was actually like 50, but hey, whatever. I had a feeling that after I drove it around that I would have to take these off again anyway, so. All right, so here, let me set this camera up here so you guys can see. There. If you look, it's like a spaceship under there. Let me get the lights. So I did all the suspension work on this. Some of it on stream, some of it not, but it's all brand new under here. I got new tie rods. That sway bar was really difficult to get into position. Control arm, cross member, coil. We retain factory spindles and calipers because, yeah, they're fine. It's not like a super race car, but this right here, that is what we got to fix. Or quote unquote fix. Oh. Oh, no, that's all right. That's fine. All right. So, we're just adjusting this here. It's not that big. Not that big of a thing. Trying to see if I can get you guys just a better camera angle. Give me 1 second. This thing is magnetic, so the gimbal camera. So you're going to go upside down here for a second. That's not disorienting at all. No, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's not. You guys enjoying the top of the wheel well? All right, here, how about on the sway bar? There we go. That's fine. Okay, so you guys are on the sway bar. We have a well-lit shot. Here's our adjusters right here. So see these two? We got to adjust those. It's basically this is your spring retainer, and then that's a jam nut. I set it just kind of in the center. We have a threaded component right here on the strut, right? And I set it in the center, that's all. And the center is much too high. So what we have here is this is called the coil over because you have a coil over your wheel. See the coil spring? It's a 250 pound QA1 spring. 250 pounds means you need 250 pounds of force to compress it 1 inch. So yeah, it's not that. That's basically what that means. It's a tight spring on purpose because the front suspension needs to be stronger because it's in this particular car. In this car, it's holding up the engine. So you got to go for a higher spring rate here. Now, if you guys are noticing, if you notice that it's hitting this, that's supposed to do that. The suspension at full droop is supposed to, it's going to contact this, What this is right here is the old, that's where the coil spring was, the old spring. So if it's contacting, it's not that big of a deal. How's this different from a McPherson? It really isn't. It replaced the coil spring and shock with a McPherson. That's basically what this is. It's just it's a coilover that's connected to the spindle. It's basically a McPherson at this point. That's what this converted this to. It was a independent coil spring, and the coil spring was mounted on the control arm. But yeah. All right, so just take a measurement here. We're 2 5/8 from the bottom of the 2 5/8 from the bottom of the spring. All right, so what I'm going to do is we got to undo the jam nut first. This thing is just to make sure this doesn't move. This should adjust our ride height. So see, I loosened it, and now we just got to, I'm going to put gloves on. There's anti-seize all over this thing. Yeah, we got plenty of room to come down. Yep. Coilover. You got magnetic ride suspension? Yeah, okay. All right, let's get moving. I don't know, maybe I have to move you guys like right here. Nah, on the sway bar seems to be the right area. It's not the best shot, but it's close enough to get across what I'm trying to do. So we're 2 5/8 off the bottom of this. Let me get the metric just in case, the metric measurement. About 7 centimeters, give or take. We have to lower that. The car was 2 inches riding way too high, so honestly, like this needs to be like way down here. All right. Yeah, see, I coated this with, the gray is aluminumized paste. It's anti-seize to make sure that it doesn't, these things don't get stuck. That's what the instructions called for. Sometimes you just got to read the instructions. See, what I'm worried about is that when this thing is fully decompressed, I'm kind of wondering if the springs will be completely decompressed at full droop, which, I mean, let's be real. If that's the case, then you got other issues. Let's go down to where I stopped applying the anti-seize. So how far is that off? That's 1 inch. We're down basically 50 millimeter from where we were. I'll set it to exactly 1 inch. There. All right, now, where are my wrenches? Where did I put the wrenches? Oh, there they are. They're right by me. So now we just got to adjust this down. Can we do it that way? Doesn't want to. Yeah, this thing's just coated. That's on purpose, though. It's supposed to be like that, so we'll just use the wrench. So the weird thing is that I did this over the weekend. Or not over the weekend. I did this last week. I lowered this thing way down, and it didn't change the ride height, but I only did it on one side, just to see if the car would be like slanted or anything, and I didn't see much. But also, I didn't have the sway bar hooked up either, so some variables have changed. So we'll just adjust both of these down down to 1 inch off the bottom of the coilover thread, or the adjustable thread, and we'll see where it gets us. Because right now this thing's got a Carolina squat like a pickup truck, and it's gross, and it's very sketchy driving it around. Very sketchy driving it around. But if anybody's wondering, I did, all this stuff is torqued with the exception of the spring adjustment right now. All the bolts are torqued to the specs that are called. Some of them is torque 2, so 22 to 25, like it really depends. Everything is torqued right to spec following the QA1 manuals. Like, I was very anal retentive about that because you don't, frankly, at the end of the day, you don't mess with suspension. Don't screw around with this stuff if you don't know what you're doing, which, I mean, I kind of don't know what I'm doing right now, but like, this is already pre-engineered suspension, so we're kind of going, seeing what we can do here. And personally, I don't mind the internet backseating me here because I don't want to mess this up. This is not, but I know enough about engineering too at the same time to know like who's given the decent enough advice and who isn't. Like, I know what camber caster and toe is. I've just never adjusted it on any car before. Most of my cars have leaf springs in the front or twin I-beams, which is not adjustable. I mean, the Mustang does have coils, but that's all factory stuff, so it's not very adjustable. All right, see, the spring is moving now, which is like what I'm kind of like about, but it's okay. Let me check chat. All right, let me just check our measurement from the bottom of the jam. 24.7 millimeter, right on the dot, or just 1 inch. Or, yeah, no, not 24.7. 365. 25 mil. Yeah, 25.2, that's what it needs to be. All right, so there we go. It's supposed to spin like this as long as these don't spin independently. This is supposed to do that. This is sleeved over the strut. Okay. There is a Torrington bearing up there at the top, but this is what I was worried about. This is why I set it so high, because I don't like how the spring droops like that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's supposed to do. So, all right, let me check chat real quick. Yeah, because this whole thing moves. That whole assembly, the strut is the strut's supposed to pivot because this whole thing moves, and it's supposed to spin. It's supposed to do that. That's why there's a Torrington bearing. But it seems like the travel on the shock absorber exceeds the spring droop here, but whatever. Whatever, it's working. I mean, I guess all there is to do is just put this on the other side and send it. Do the same thing to the other side and go. So that's what we're going to do. Will the weight of the car compress it more? Yeah. We have a lot of play because we're at full droop. The whole suspension is decompressed because I have the car up on jacks. Other side, then trust, but verify. That's right. So I'm just going to do the same thing over here on this side. And let me get the light so you guys can see. bring my tape measure. All right, you guys can see okay. So yeah, this one is adjusted way up as well. We're 2.5 or 2 5/8, I think is where I had it. Yep. Actually, that one was just 2.5 centered, but whatever. All right, so what we got to do is get the jam nut loose first. So that sometimes that takes both wrenches. There. Jam nut's loose. Once again, these are caked in NICs on purpose. So I have gloves on because that aluminum paste is really a pain in the butt to get off. All right, let's get the... Yeah, we're still 1.5 inches. So, yeah, this is the first step. We got to adjust the ride height, and then we'll adjust everything else. We got to do ride height, we got to do camber, we got to do caster, and we got to do toe. Those are kind of the 3 or 4. Well, ride height really isn't, but camber, caster, and toe are the 3 axes for getting your suspension set up straight. Long story short is you want the tires to be going straight. That's all. All right, we are 1 inch almost exactly. Let me just turn this just a smidge. Back it up just a little bit. Yeah, that's 1 inch right up. That's perfect. So now we got to take this and we have to start lowering the spring retainer nut. Yeah, getting that damn sway bar in there sucked. Look at it. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see how thick that stupid thing is. This is a thick boy sway bar. What that thing is designed to do is designed to keep kind of, it's basically, if you're watching me because we play Kerbal, it's a strut. It's a strut in the Kerbal sense of the term, not a car sense of the term. It basically holds the 2 control arms together to make sure that the body doesn't move too much relative to the control arms. It prevents what's called body roll. Body roll is like the car going around a corner. You don't want the whole body of the car to move too far to one side or another, because what you're doing is you're loading up your suspension that way. And if you bottom out, if you load up your suspension to a point where you bottom it out, you could destabilize the spring or destabilize the suspension. And yeah, if you've ever seen like a car going down the highway, if you ever like in your travels on the internet seen a car going down the highway that spins, right? It starts to spin, right? And then it loads up the suspension and it hits a bump and flips over. It's because when the suspension is fully loaded up, when it's fully compressed, it is absorbing all of the energy that you can possibly give it. If you hit a bump when your suspension's at full stop or full compression, that force has to go somewhere, and it usually goes up into the car, breaks something, or that momentum, it's transferred as momentum and it flips the car over. Like you see the cars skidding down the highway left to right. They're loading up the suspension and then they hit a bump and the thing just goes. Yeah, you don't want to load up your suspension. The anti-roll bar helps prevent that, but once again, everything has its limits. If you're watching this, on a side note, if you're watching this because you like space, right? You're watching me because of Kerbal or the space coverage that I do. Booster 1062, what do you think happened there? 1062, when it came down to land, you loaded up the suspension too much. In this case, the suspension on Falcon 9 is the crush core. It's kind of a crumple zone that's built into the landing leg design. It's a one-time use suspension because you don't really want suspension when your rocket goes to land because it can spring around after landing. But if you fully compress the crush core, that energy has to go somewhere, and it went up the stack and bent the rocket till it fell over. Or bent, well, it didn't bend the rocket, it bent the strut. It bent the pneumatic strut. All that force had to go somewhere, and bottoming out the crush core manifested itself as a shearing load through the pneumatic struts that they used, and it snapped it like a twig. The energy has to go somewhere. You got to give a place to dissipate it. If you don't, yes, the metal will turn into your suspension. Same thing with a car. If we loaded up this suspension and if we bottomed it out, like if we jumped the car, the suspension, the kinetic energy has to go somewhere. It'd most likely go up here and stretch that, which is why, like, if your car gets hit, like when you're at an insurance, like if you get into an accident, God forbid, right? If you get into an accident and your car gets bent up enough to the point where too much energy was absorbed by the frame, the structural pieces of the car, the insurance company goes, no, nope, hard pass. Because once you start bending the structure of the car, it becomes really difficult to fix. Which is why you got to be careful about buying cars that have been in an accident. That's why stuff like Carfax exists. We're 1 1/8 inches. We got to go down a little bit more. Where are we now? Got to go up. Turned it a little too far. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to hold this. We did this on the other side already, but we're going to hold the retainer spring, and then we're going to grab the jam, and we're going to just twist them against each other. You want to get it to the point where the threads, which is just these threads aren't milled into the they aren't milled into the strut. It's a sleeve right there. You want to get it to the point where turning these turns the sleeve. See what I'm talking about? Now we're good. Okay. Ain't much else to do but put the tires back on and put her down and see if we got this thing right. Come on, little Faye. Hello. Come on now. There we go. Let me just make sure I didn't just mess that camera up. Yeah, we're still good. Hey. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is adjusting suspension in a nutshell. Tire comes on, tire comes off, tire comes on, tire comes off. We're probably going to do this 3 or 4 more times today, so. If you decompress the spring, wouldn't that make it higher? No, I decreased the amount of area between the bottom of the strut, between the bottom of it. It shouldn't make it, it shouldn't, Trenchfoot, I don't think. Also, nice name. So what that did was move the spring up. We just moved it down, so there's less travel, but that should increase the ride height, or decrease the ride height, should. All right, let me put the tires back on. So we are a 1 inch off the bottom of the thread on each side. I made Ernok buy new lugs for this thing, dudes. I don't know if you guys saw the lugs that he had on this thing. I made him buy new lugs. I insisted on it. Look at this real quick. What the hell are you supposed to do with that? That was the lugs that were on this. How is that a lug nut? It's like fluted. It's a fluted. I made him buy these. It's not keyed. This is not a keyed lug. We got it off with a regular socket, but the weird thing is that all of the lugs are like that. I mean, I understand if one's keyed, right, and the other 4 are fine, but they're all keyed, right, but they're all the same. Yeah, Sasquatch, that was my first thought. I'm like, oh, it's keyed because it's anti-theft, but they're all like that, and it's all the same key. Those are just the Gorilla Spline lug nuts. I hate them, SVO. I can't stand those things. They suck. Keep people from stealing your 88 Camaro rims. Yeah. Yeah, because this is super sought after, a stock GM wheel. All right, let me, you guys know the drill. Let me just catch the threads first. Once again, I'm just snugging these down. They're not, you should torque them, but I mean, you don't have to. I like doing that. I will torque them eventually. I've been just putting them on and off with the impact gun. Technically, you shouldn't use the impact gun to put stuff on because it's an impact gun. The impact gun is really good for removing things because it hits. It's like hitting it with a hammer, and then taking the thing off. Hit it with a hammer will break the rust, right? I don't generally like putting stuff on with an impact wrench. I mean, when I was in auto shop, I was taught, you know, you can do it, but if you stretch the lugs because you over torqued it, you could have a big problem, like the wheel coming off going down the road. So, I mean, technically the right way to do this is to hit it with anti-seize. Hit it with that aluminum paste. So, I mean, especially if you're in the Northeast like I am, hit it with anti-seize, right? And then like put some anti-seize paste on and then torque it to spec. Use a torque wrench to put things on. You use the impact gun to take things off. With that being said, you could use an impact wrench. I'm going to right now. I'm just going to snug them up. We're not going to torque to spec because this isn't the final time these are going to be off. Start pattern. You kind of want to go around the horn with the lugs. You want to go like top, bottom, left, right, etc., etc. These are 5 lug ribs, so you kind of make a star pattern. The reason why you do that is to ensure that the flange on the wheel is mated to the spindle, or mated to the hub correctly. You don't want to tighten one side first and pinch one side. You can do that, and you'll get death wobbles going down the road because your tire will be wobbling around like that. You know, yeah, trust me, that's not something you want. Once again, had death wobbles before and a tire come off driving down the road on stream. Not fun, really not fun. Finger tight these things. So I'm just putting on the other one. I mean, you guys just saw what this is. It's just the same process over. If this was a YouTube video, this is where we'd be time-lapsing. But it's not. It's a live stream, so I have to sit here and feel the dead air. Everybody have a good weekend? Yeah, that's how you feel dead air. Ask Chad a question, right? That works. Dude, I am dreading taking that damn door hinge apart because I already, Hellfish, the truth of the matter is that I knew those, and anybody else that saw the door decide to door int, I knew those hinges were going to go just by opening the door. It sounded like the Titanic ripping in half. I knew they were going to go. It's just a matter of when. Of course they went on stream. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they go on stream? Of course that happens. And it's both doors. So I basically got to take apart like the whole front of this car to fix that. Because in order to get at the hinges, you have to mimic how they put this thing together on the assembly line. In order to do that, when they put the doors on, there's no front. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't need to pull the entire engine apart. We just got to take the all the cosmetic stuff at the front. We got to take it all off. Which, once again, I know how to do it. You know, and if we do it one at a time, we probably don't need to take the hinge off at all, which is nice, but it still blows. That's so much work, dude. And like, I've watched a couple of videos. I know how to do it, but man, is it gonna suck. Because now the door won't close at all. The hinges went completely, which sucks. It sucks so hard, dude. Scope creep. It's not scope creep if the door doesn't shut there, guy. It's not scope creep. The door doesn't shut anymore. All right. It's not scope creep. It's more of a necessity at this point. Jim, I don't know how much you know about cars. You kind of have to make sure the door shuts to drive it down the road. I mean, you don't have to. I'm pretty sure law enforcement probably have something to say about that if you drive down the highway with the door open. Okay, get the jack up on the cross member, get this thing off the jack stands. Don't ever get underneath a car when it's being held up with a jack. I'll say this every time I do it, just don't ever do that. That's a hoisting device. It's not a holder. See how, like, when I went to get the jack stand, I'm kind of reaching underneath it? Because if, heaven forbid, if this thing falls, it's just going to push my hand down. It's not going to crush my hand, unless it's under the wheel, in which case I wouldn't put it under the wheel right now. All right, so I did some measurements before, over the weekend, of the front ride height. It was 29 inches from the ground to the fender on both sides. Let's see what it is now. We're going to bring this sucker down. There's the springs tensioning. I really don't like that noise, but that's what I mean about the spring droop. I can tell you right now, she's definitely lower. It's definitely lower. The jack was starting to hit the air dam and stuff. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's not bad at all. Let's get the tape measure. $27.5. I'm pretty sure that's factory. I mean, we got to probably air up the tires a little bit. It's 27 3/4 on this side, but that's because that tire doesn't have any air in it. Bounce it. Sick. Oh, yeah, that looks way better. Oh, yeah. Dude, that's money. That's nice. That's real nice. She's still like light years up in the air. Light years is a unit of, distance. Whatever. I mean, it kind of is, but yeah, at least she's level now. That's way better. Way better. Okay, give it a rip for us. Nah, not right now, Trenchfoot. Not right now. We still have to adjust camber caster and tow. But here, let me look at it from back here. Dude, she's still high in the front. You know what? I'm gonna measure from the lip of the rim to the quarter. Because, yeah, once again, if the tires don't have air in them. So we're 22.5, or about 57 centimeters from the lip of the rim to the quarter. Let's see what we are over here. It's riding a little bit high on this side, just a smidge. This is 22 3/4. We're a 1/4 inch higher on this side. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal, but is your slab level? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's level. It does look a lot nicer. Let me check the back. We might need to tool up the back springs just a little bit. Let's check back here. This is 22 3/4, so it's higher than that one. And then over here, we're at 22 3/4. So we're all good. I mean, the car is level right now. Ish, level-ish. It's level akin, all right? I set that side exactly the same. I don't understand why it wouldn't be. Maybe my eyes is crooked. But yeah, so measuring from the lip of the rim instead of the ground to the quarter panel is going to give me a pretty good representation of the ride height. Even if the slab is not level, but it is, so they don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. Yeah, trench foot tire pressure is why I measured from the lip. Why I measured from the lip to the quarter. Either way, it is a lot lower, and it's a lot. That's cool, man. It's a lot nicer. It looks great. Like, I don't know how well you guys can tell from the. I don't know if you guys can tell from the cameras, but it does look good. It's definitely noticeable. It's probably not as noticeable on the camera, but that's okay. Give us a side view. This is the best I can do. Best I can do. Yeah, definitely less clearance. Yeah, definitely less clearance there. You just want to hear it? Oh, actually, you know what? Now that it's kind of level, I want to see if this. Nope, that's still very broken. Wait, why is it? The door locks. The door. Why? The striker catch is jammed closed. Dude, I don't want to know when the last time somebody oiled this thing was, because it looks like it hasn't been touched since 1991. The door latch is in the closed position, so I really hope that doesn't mean something broke with the opening mechanism, because that would suck. Nope, no, she's opening now. There we go. I got her to open. Oh, thank God the door closed. I had my punch right there. When going doors. Okay. No. All right, so we need to go down on this side just a little bit, right? So we got to get the car back up in the air. Yeah. So there's a latching mechanism and a door strike on the back here. The striker is a pin that's attached to the car, and then the door closes on it, right? And then there's a latch. It looks like a bike lock almost, and it kind of rotates into position. So when you pull the handle, it rotates that into a position where it can open the door. So where the door opens, striker stays still, right? And when you close it, it kind of loops around it. It was stuck in the looped close position, which means that happens when the whole mechanism isn't kind of lubricated right. Just climb through the window like NASCAR. Dude, I don't think I can fit in there. No, we're not doing that. Yep, vetoed that plan. Go head first. No, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do any of that. No, but thank you for the bits, even though that was a little bit ago. I'm back. How did City's gear lines go? My brain is not awake enough to do that. Right now, it's not awake enough to learn a new game. So we moved to adjusting ride height with the Camaro. We did get it down, but we're a 1/4 inch higher on this side, so we got to get in there. I got to lower it a little bit. I'm kind of wondering if there's a way that I can do that with the wheel off, but probably not. Should we rake it a little bit, guys? What do you think? Should we lower the front a little bit more? I don't know. I kind of like the level ride height. I don't think we need to rake. The game was awesome. It turned suicide into a joke. Yeah, I'm not... Element, that didn't really sit too well with me. Yeah, I get it. It was a joke. I'm just... Kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. Maybe we'll play automation or something. It did quote Megadeth, which is pretty rad, but... All right, let's get the other side down. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, dude. Do I have some brew left over from yesterday? Hell yeah. Yeah, Jordan, it's got a 305. 305 in it, but the cool thing about this is that it's an RS. It's not an IROC. You can tell because of this. The RS had these weird air intakes on the lip kit. And because of that, it's a 305 with a T5 behind it. It's got a 5-speed, which is cool. 305s didn't really come with 5 speeds. It's a weird car. It's like the 97 F250 that I have. That's just kind of a bunch of weird stuff because it was at the end of the line for this car. This type of Camaro, the 3rd gen, and Jordan, I don't know if you probably know this because the question that you asked. I'm just kind of saying for everybody else. This 3rd gen went from 1982 to 1992. They'd made it for 10 years. Tasty. And 91, they were getting ready to build the 4th gen Camaro instead. So they were just kind of piecing cars together. The interesting thing is that this has a 4th gen, it has a gauge cluster in it that looks a lot more like a 4th gen, which is strange. Like I'm used to the IROC style gauge cluster, but. Is that the official beer of the New England Patriots? The Samuel Adams Boston Lager? Oh yeah. So, yeah, 305 with a 5-speed behind it, they only made, I actually went and looked, they only made 11,000 of them. And I know what people are going to say, they only made 11,000? They made 1 million of these. From 1982 to 92, there was over 1 million of the 3rd gen style of Camaro made. So 11,000 out of 1 million is actually a pretty damn rare car, interestingly enough. For the people that like GM RPO codes and stuff. Yeah, that's actually super cool. We're probably going to get rid of the 305 because 305s suck. It's an awful motor. Makes a lot of torque, but only for like a second. Yeah, the ugly Catfish. Pace, the Catfish doesn't do it for me. Maybe a Pontiac WS6. That would be cool. But yeah, the 4th gen Camaro doesn't do anything for me. I think it's a weird looking car. It's not like this. This is a cool looking car. I like this. I think this looks great. It's really a beautiful car. Especially here, let me put the hood down. Let me show you. It's a nice looking car. Replace it with what? Replace the 305 with what? 5.3. 327. 5.3 will do us right. It's up to Ernock. It's not up to me. It's his car. I'm just working on it for fun because I like doing this stuff. All right, we got to bring this side down. Yeah, I got to get the car up in the air again. Not by much this time, though. Hell yeah. Brother, not much. Your voice sounds a lot different through the portable mic. Thank you. Keep it level. The ground effects under the door would look goofy otherwise. Yeah, you're not wrong, Craig. Yeah, all right, let's do it, man. All right, let me just double check my measurements. We gotta lower it down on one side. We are at 22.5 here, exactly. Yeah, that's 22.5. And that's what the two rear tires are at 22.5, which is actually pretty good. This is, that's 9/16, 5/8, 11/16. Yeah, it's 5/8, 22 and 5/8. Or for the metric folks, we are 57.5 centimeters. 5,700 millimeters. That's not, no, 57.5, yeah. Yeah, 22 and 5/8. All right. I got to lower that side just a little bit. It really doesn't need to come down too much. All right, so let's get the jack under there. I got to be careful now because it can hit the air dam because the car is a lot lower than it was. I used to be able to just get this jack under here. I hate that noise. The sound of the springs going twang as they decompress. Really don't like that. Okay, she's up in the air. Just needed enough to get the tire up off the ground. It's got to go a little bit more to get the jack stand underneath. Okay, I'm just gonna bring it down. The jack stand's only on one side, so. Actually, I'll just put the other one in. Whatever, it takes 2 seconds. Okay, bring her down. Okay, I'm gonna do this quick, guys, so we can get her done. I'm just taking the thing off and adjusting the jam. NASCAR. 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 You got to say that if you're doing it fast. NASCAR. The Camaro looks great. Thanks, man. Tape measure, tape measure, tape measure. All right. Let me just do a quick adjustment. Doesn't need to go very far. I had that jam nut on there pretty damn snug. So wait, this side's got to go down, right? Down a smidge. Okay, I took probably a full rotation out of the jam. Let me just retighten it. All right, tire back on. This is kind of annoying, but you only need to do it once. This is like Gear City, right? It's kind of the same thing. Only less death by revolver. Less death by eating lead poisoning. I mean, I know suicide is a game mechanic in some games, but geez, I don't like that. All right. Of course, I moved the impact gun all the way over here. Jack's going back up. Okay, time to measure again. It's the same. Why is it the same? It would be nice to see it at Seekonk, yeah. Make sure you roll the car back and forth. Yeah, no, I haven't bounced. How is it the same? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's lower now. Yeah, it's settled. It's 22 and 7/16. We're 1/8 of an inch low on this side now. Let me just double check over here. Make sure this is the same. Oh, geez. $22 1/8. Wait a minute. That's 22 1/8. What is it on this side? It's 22 1/4. We're 1/8 of an inch off. We're dialing it in. We were 1/4 inch off. Now we're 1/8 of an inch off. Huh. Okay. I don't hit the enter key too early, level 1. Pump up the tires too. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get my compressor out. I mean, that's pretty damn close, dudes. I don't know. I mean, 1/8 of an inch. Like, I don't know what the nominal range for getting this right is. Oh, wait, I have the manual. Hold on. Hang on. We have the manual. I don't know if the manual, there's no adjustable ride height on the regular car though, so that's not going to help us too much. The driver's side is also on the carpet, if that means anything. Well, we're measuring from the, yeah, we'll probably, yeah, that's, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if that's going to make a difference. I don't think so. Did you bounce it up and down to help settle it? Yeah, we did. We did. It's settled. We're basically at 22 1/4 on both sides. So that's yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty much factory ride height. It's close. It's 1/8 of an inch on that side, but yeah, the rug might have had something to do with it, but also I'm measuring from the lip of the rim. But then again, if the whole car is offset, yeah, I'm gonna say that's all right. Am I? You guys tell me, am I being lazy? Am I talking myself into it, or is that what is it good? It's 1/8 of an inch off from side to side. Yeah, this is 22 1/8 from the lip of the rim element to the top of the quarter, or to the top of the wheel well. This is 22 1/4. The rug might be the difference here, but then again, I'm measuring from the lip of the rim to the top of the fender. So I don't know. I'd say send it. Don't chase your tail. Send it. It's fine. All right, cool. Good. Yeah, excellent. All right, sweet. That's what I wanted to hear. All right. What's next, boys? What do we do next? Camber caster and tow, which I don't know how to do at all. So Let me get the manual here. Camaro Firebird, coilover, struts, caster, camber plates. What's on the list? Camber caster in tow. Just setting up the front suspension so it's aligned correctly. And then I do need to adjust the panhard bar, and we need to install an adjustable e-brake in this to go with that rear end. So yeah. And I got the doors closed. All right. So here, what is this, Hellfish? It's easier than you think. All right. Yeah, see, it's going to make uneven wear on your tires if you don't get the alignment right. See how the tread's really good over here, but it's not over there? That's from running too much camber. I don't have that. Jeez. I don't have any of the plates or anything. Don't need it. 2 strings, different heights. Oh dear. What the hell? Are there screws on top of the shock mounts? It's slotted, dude. Yeah, we can adjust camber and caster. I was gonna show you. Here, let me flip us over to this camera. So here, take a look. See what I'm talking about? There's slots. There's 2 plates, right? And you slot it. You have to adjust the slot. I'm just looking for what this what is it looking for factory spec? No, that's not going to get us anything. Hold on. One of these manuals in here is going to tell us what we're looking for. That's for the torque arm, not adjustable. Nope. One of these has the specs. Just got to find it. Nope. Give me a second. That's shock adjustment. Lower control arms, perhaps. I don't know why that would have it. One of them has the factory specs on it, like what you should adjust camber caster and tow to. It's like a chart that none of these seem to have. That's good. Nope. That's the sway bar. Coilover. Nope. Dude, I swear I have all the instructions for everything that we've done on this. That's trailing arms, so that's the back. This is the most hench stream. It reeks of superosity. What's up, Rig? Ah, there it is. I found it. All right. 82 to 92, Camaro and Firebird. It's looking for -1, 0 to -1 for street driving. That's for the camber. 4 to 6 degrees Casper. I need more coffee. 4 to 6 degrees Castor, and a 16th to an 1/8 toe in. All right, not a big deal. Hooray! I helped. Yeah, you could load. I could load the suspension by putting everything on jack stands, getting the whole car up off the ground. Yeah. I think we got to get her up in the air again, though, because you have to unload the suspension if you're going to adjust the caster and the camber. Yeah. So, ow. Let me pop the hood here. We'll see what we got. Let me just make sure that I got YouTube chat open. Check rear wheel alignment first, James. You think so? I mean, that's the only thing to really adjust back there is the panhard bar. Take a measurement before you lift so you know how much. You'll be able to do that in the air. Nice dissolve. All right, it's getting hot in here. Damn it. It's not even hot outside. I'm just sweating my balls off in here. Okay. All right. Let's get the hood up. All right, come here. So, see that? See how these are slotted? That's your adjustment right there. See? I centered it as best as I could, but it's still a little, I mean, it's not perfect. Yeah, I got to figure out how to do this, though. I mean, we obviously got to unload it. That's been torqued, so we don't want to touch that. That's the top of the top of the spring and the top of the coilover. There's a Heim joint in there, so you can move this stuff around, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah. All right. Let's get going. Hi. Just stay there. That's how it came from the factory. This is how it came from the factory. Goth car. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The engine light doesn't turn on. You'd fit a Barra in there easily. Yeah, it's got a bad ground because it's loose. I found this thing mounted in there with self-tappers. So I put new tech screws in there and called it a day, but it's still got a bad ground. But it works, so that's good. All right, get the whole car up in the air, huh? Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, all right. Let me think about how I want to do this. Like how high do we want to get? I mean, we got to put it down on the suspension, right? So we got to take the wheels off. We got to take all fours off, right? That's what we're doing, right? Taking all four of them. Because I'm not sure how to do this. To be 100% real, I'm not sure how to do it. I mean, I can adjust the panhard in the back. I know that the rear end's kind of off to one side a little bit. We could probably get away with doing that first. Minimal height, just enough to get all four off the ground and the suspension loaded. If you got 2 tape measures and a couple of 2x4s, you can take quick toe measurements on the front. Does QA1 have videos? Yeah. Yeah, they do. I'm not sure if they have videos for this exact kit, but yeah. I'm just sorry. I got it Monday. I got to think about. I knew we had to adjust the ride height. That was something that was solid in my head. I just got to think about how we're going to do the rest of this. I blanked. God dang it. Frickin' Mondays, dude. About to make another pot of coffee. The camber measurements will all be geometric since you don't have the fancy tools for it. Yeah, okay. Do the camber and then the caster and then the toe in with the string off of the rear wheel. It's not easy. I really want to read more about this before I do it on stream. Yeah, I kind of want to read more about this before I go and mess with it. The ride height, I knew what to do. And I'm happy that I got the freaking front down. That really makes me happy, actually. But, yeah, we do eventually got to do all the adjustments, so I figured probably should take the car and put it up. What I could just do is take relative measurements from the top of the plate here. We can take relative measurements from the top and just set both of them the same for now. There's a ton of research out there, so I chose to stream for suspension theory. Yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on doing this today anyway. But Gear City kind of laid an egg for me. I wasn't really interested. It didn't really hold my attention too much. I was planning on doing this sometime this week, but we got the ride height done now, which is actually pretty rad. Might just take it to an alignment shop and call it a day, but nah, we should figure out how to do it. We should figure out how to do it. What time is it? 3:25. Someone's balding hard. Thanks for the update, Rick. Appreciate it. You got anything else useful to contribute, or are you just going to be a douchebag in my chat all day? All right. I'm trying to think about, okay, so if I get the jack stands on it, what am I going to put on the jack stands? I don't want to screw up the control arms. trying to think. Man, I mean, Hellfish, you're a jerk, but you're not wrong. This would be easier with a lift. Just put the thing up on the lift, and then we can just get at everything. I don't want to. I gotta find like stuff to put the wheels and tires on, dude, because I don't want the jack stands to mess it all up. It's like a freaking spaceship under there. It's all nice and shiny, and I don't want to scratch it because then it'll get rusty. Cool. Rags, just remember to fold them the same amount of times. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, because it's not just put something on there. It has to be the same height. And if it's not the same height, we're going to screw up. We'll screw up the geometry completely. That's why it's not just as simple as just put the jack on, man. Like, it's not that simple. Trust me. You know what? Maybe the manual has something on how to adjust it. Let me see. I'm pretty sure it just says take it to an alignment shop. Grease all the zerks. A professional alignment should be performed before driving the vehicle. It is a good idea to make the alignment shop aware of this, as the alignment shop will only try to align the vehicle to factory specs. These alignment specifications for vehicles equipped with QR1. All right. Where are Freb and Bluefist? Freb's right there. They're outside. This might be a very stupid question, but how did you get into doing stuff on your own car as opposed to taking it to a garage? Just watch videos? Yeah, Amar, you gotta want to. Like, you gotta want to. Working on a car is like, it's just like playing any video game. You just get better at it the more you do it, right? There's a certain mentality about how to go about like working on it. And if you like, I'm not saying that this is the wrong way to do it. It's just a different way. Like if you, like if your car breaks and you're like, oh, I want to go fix it. Let's look up a video. You're going to have a hard time because you don't know anything about cars, right? Like it's something you kind of have to chase. You know what I mean? How did I start? But like, if you want to know technically how I started, I just started doing preventative maintenance on cars in my parents' driveway. Like on my car, on my parents' car, I'll do the oil changes, stuff like that. I learned how to do that from a high school automotive class. You know, just how to do basic stuff. Like change the oil, air filter. Like that's probably a good place to start. How to do preventative maintenance. That would probably be where I would suggest anybody to go if you want to learn it, dude. It's not a stupid question either. Like, yeah, you just kind of dig more and more. You got to keep doing it. You can get, like, wrenching is something that you got to keep doing, and if you don't keep doing it, you're going to get worse at it. It's one of those things. Like, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff stays with you, but yeah. Like, yeah. It takes time, and yeah, I have a lot of project cars. Like I have a lot of cars that I have to work on so I can wrench almost every day, and that's what I do. I usually am in here before the stream starts. Fair enough. It just seems like a huge learning curve along with the risk of messing it up along the way. That's the biggest one. That's the biggest challenge that any person that wants to work on cars has to go through. Don't mess it up. But as long as you're careful and considered, and you really do your research, really know what you're doing, and that takes time, you can get it right. It's not that, dude, like, okay, here's the thing. I know exactly what you mean. It takes a long time to get it right. It takes a long time to get it in your head to get it right. Like, you have to kind of overcome that, and you have to have a little bit of confidence in yourself. Like, there's definitely a mental component to this. Yeah, but getting over that hump, like, oh man, what if I break something and then I have to take it to the mechanic? Like, just remember, like, the thing that when I was really, really learning about a lot about this, the thing that I remember the most or like I constantly had to remind myself is like, look, these things they are designed to be worked on by not mechanical engineers. They're not, you don't need to be an engineer to work on this. It helps, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to be, like, you got to remember that this is designed to be fixed in a shop in like 5 minutes or like a day. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science. It's not a rocket. Not everything is to like super precise tolerance. It's just good enough, right? That's something that's important to understand. Because I was like super worried if like a nut wasn't turned like perfectly like the other nut, like it was gonna break. No. These cars are not that complicated, especially older stuff. It's not that complicated. Even newer stuff to an extent, not that complicated. It's not a rocket. It's not an airplane. Like, you just got to get it good enough, right? And that's a thing. That's a really important thing to understand. But even if you want to be like super anal retentive about stuff, like me, I make sure I torque everything. Everything is torqued to spec. So like the factory calls for you to tighten the bolt to a certain amount. So you need a torque wrench, right? I torque everything to spec. Everything gets done exactly like how someone who did do the engineering wants, right? Like you tighten a bolt certain amount, and the torque wrench will let you tighten it and let you know when it's tightened enough, right? That's what I was talking about, like torquing lug nuts and stuff. You could cinch them with an impact wrench. That's not really what you're supposed to do, right? But yeah, I mean, you got to remember, somebody's done the engineering for you already. They did the hard part for you. It's just adhering to the rules that they set, the constructive rules that they set, right? And you start learning that with preventative maintenance, you know, changing tires or changing the oil, stuff like that. Learning how the engine works probably helps too. Are we going to face the sand today? I don't know, maybe. It depends. Fair enough, appreciate all of that. Yeah, it's not, dude, it's not hard. It's really not. I would say it's more of a mental component than anything. You know, getting over the hump of like, oh, I'm going to break something. No, probably not. If you do everything right, it's not breaking. So like the first suspension on anything that I ever completely redid was on this truck. This truck, I redid all four. Well, it's got leaf springs with solid axles, so its suspension is probably more in common with a wagon, like a horse and buggy on this truck, than it is like a car, for instance. But when I redid it, I had the manual and I knew what to tighten every single bolt to. You tighten it to a certain spec. You tighten this to a certain spec. You tighten that to a certain spec. And doing all that, I know that the suspension isn't going to break. It's not going to. It's not gonna. I did everything that the book said. And it's not, you can have the confidence to know that if that bolt is torqued to the right spec, it's not going to break. That's what somebody already did a mountain of math and engineering to make sure that if you tighten that to that spec, that bolt doesn't break unless you like drive the car off of a bridge or something. Don't do that, right? And that actually, doing stuff like that gives you a lot of confidence. You build up your confidence over time. That I'm telling you, that's a huge component to it. And then once you get to the point where you're working on stuff, right? And it's funny because like even 5 years ago, I never would have messed with suspension. I never would have had the confidence to put this, like completely redo the suspension on this car, let alone not mine, right? But, you know, I look at it now and it's not hard. It's just tighten the bolts, just follow the instructions. Just read the instructions. It's not difficult, right? Could you use wax rings as boots on the stands or use small throw pillows? No joke. I think my wife would kill me if we used our throw pillars. Throw pillars, yep. Would be great with an independent rear. My truck? Yeah, right. I keep hearing conflicting info on that. What exactly is the procedure for getting a bolt nut to torque spec? Crank till torque wrench tells you to stop? And quarter turn in what direction? Quarter turn needed? Element, it depends. It depends. So there's torque to sequence, and then there's torque to yield, okay? Two different things. Torque to sequence means tighten it to 20, like I'm making up numbers. Tighten a bolt to 50 foot-pounds first, and then go to 80, 50 to 80. So like if you see a hyphenated torque spec, 50 to 80 foot-pounds, tighten it to 50, let it sit for a second, then tighten it to 80. That's torque to sequence, right? I mean, not exactly. It's not actually called sequence. Torquing in sequence means the pattern, the combination of bolts, right? But yeah, there's torque to, and then there's torque to yield. I forget what the two thing is. I forget what it's called. But so torque to yield would be tighten it to 50 and then back it to 30. That's what I mean about doing the math. Somebody did the math that if you stretch that bolt and then compress it, it's going to be right for the application. That's what I mean about a mechanical engineer doing the work for you. Yeah, that's the important part. Somebody did a lot of material science there and a lot of calculus to figure out exactly where you want that bolt torqued to. Stages, that's what it's called. But it depends. It depends on the type of bolt, dude. It depends on what you're doing. Yeah, we'll definitely just start learning preventative things and build up from there, like you said. It's a dream of mine to fix up a 67 Mustang. Oh, Amar, 67 Mustangs are easy. They're a joke, dude. It's a joke. That's what I was trying to tell you about the suspension. I wouldn't have dreamed of working on this, but it's not rocket science, man. It's not. You just have to... Your brain has to see that it's not rocket science. I could sit here and tell you it's not rocket science, but that doesn't make you any more confident in what you're doing, right? No. You have to go and see it. It's hands-on. You have to balance book with hands-on stuff. And once you see it, like dude, a 67 Mustang, if there was a 67 Mustang in here that had no wires, it was just an engine, a transmission, and the chassis, I could get it running for you in a couple hours. No problem. Like how quickly do you want it running? I could get it running in 5 minutes if you really want. It is that simple. Like, give me a battery, the solenoid post, and that's it. We could get it running. And then an engine ground. It wouldn't run very good, and the wire harness would be all over the floor, but I could get it running. You want to get it running to like turn the key, right? We could do that too. Right? Old cars are easy. Because you got to remember, 50, 60 years ago, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all this resourceful knowledge. The cars needed to be simple because somebody was working out in the fields on their farm, and if something breaks, there's no auto shop near you. The nearest auto shop's like 3 hours away. So you got to, this stuff is designed to be simple enough for you to fix it yourself because, once again, 60, 70 years ago, there ain't no auto shop on every corner, right? Remember that. So a 67 Mustang is not as complicated as you think it is. It's really just tighten this bolt here, do that's it. The ignition system is a joke. It's a joke. I mean, I have the ignition, I wired that truck too, the red truck. I completely wired it front to back. I did it on stream. And I didn't know how to do it. It's not as hard as you might think. Like, but yeah, a 67 Mustang, easy. Easy peasy. That's not hard at all. Like, Amar, if you keep doing this, you'll remember this conversation. If you keep doing this, and say you get to the point where you buy a 67 Mustang and work on it and really know what you're doing, right? You will remember this. It's not hard. See, old cars are really easy to fix. Yeah, the hardest part is finding one. Yep, that's right. My Fiesta crank bolt needed torque to a certain foot-pounds, then wait some time, torque again, wait another 45 degrees. Yeah, I'll have to hire you in a few years. Yep. Could you point me to a good tutorial on learning to properly torque bolts and nuts? Not really, Element, because it really depends on what you're doing. You've heard conflicting information because it depends on the type of bolt. It's really contextual. That's a very contextual thing, right? Like, think about it like this. Do you know how to make a pizza? Seriously, do you know how to make pizza? It's dough, sauce, and cheese, and then some toppings, right? You know, you got to stretch the dough, you put the sauce down, you put the cheese on it, put it in the oven, right? It's not hard. How many pizza recipes do you come by are going to be the same? You know what I mean? If you go to your local pizzeria, right? Go to your local mom and pop pizza place and you order pizza from them. Is their recipe going to be the same as the place 3 towns over? The same exact pizza, right? It's gonna be a little different. It's gonna taste a little different. It depends on the context, man. Torquing bolts is like that. It really depends on what you're doing. Like suspension bolts, they need to be retorqued after a while. You torque them to spec, you go drive the car around, and then you have to torque them again later. That's not necessarily the case with like a lug nut or something, like putting a lug nut on the side of the car, like on the wheel. You only need to torque that once. If you have to torque that twice, something's wrong. Yeah, you got to spread the flour around. But the point is that everybody's recipe is going to be different, but it's all pizza. Cars are the same way. The torquing stuff on this is not going to be torquing stuff like that, but it's all using torque specs. Element, it depends on what you're doing. That makes such a big difference. I know nothing about cars, even though I was able to fix the old Mini using your, in the late 80s, using your girlfriend's tights. My guy, Cubion, hell yeah. That's some summer car
this is
stuff.
Space.
I like it
I'm in
because the
space.
fan belt broke. Geeson gifted 5, and Amar with that Prime sub. Thanks, man. I mean, I do wrenching streams. I want to try to get to do these more like once a week. Believe me, I got plenty of junk that we need to fix. This thing is a nightmare. Like the transmission is leaking, so got to go chase the transmission leak on Freb, which is great. That's mostly because I screwed up putting a new pan on. That's totally my fault. But I learned the wrong way. I learned what not to do when you're putting a pan on, but I'll get more into that later. You know, alignment, we'll figure it out with this thing. We got to do an alignment on the not the 97. We got to do alignment on my Mustang, on my 08 Mustang. The coronet basically needs to be completely restored. The coronet's junk. It needs to be, we got to take that thing completely apart, down to the chassis. It has to. Yeah, it has to. That's my winter project after this thing is done. We got to work on Bluefist, the 87 F350 that we have. We got to get that thing pretty much tip-top. And I was driving it around the other day, and it started making a creaking noise that sounded like the door closing on this car. So I'm fairly confident the midship carrier bearing is junk. When you drive it around and you accelerate, it goes... Yes, it sounds exactly like that. The carrier bearing shot. It's toast. We need to fix that. The 97 F250, we got to hook up a bunch of stuff. I got to hook up the rear fuel tank. We got to get the right fuel lines for that. Yeah, there's plenty of work to do. You know, I love cars, right? I love cars, and I have 7 on the premises right now. I have 7 on my property. There's 7 cars. There's, you know, like, I have a rule, and this rule was taught to me in a very, very hard manner. Make sure all your stuff runs. Everything. Like, that's the rule of project cars. For me, do not take it apart to a point where you couldn't move it under its own power. Unless you're doing a full frame off resto, in which case, hopefully you have all the parts to fix it with you, right? Those are my rules. Do not take a car apart unless you have something else to put on it right there. Like, I'm not going to take the engine out of this car right now when I don't have another engine to replace it, right? Cardinal sin with car guys. Don't do that. And because of this, I have to maintain a fleet of 7 cars. That's a lot. That's a lot to maintain. That's a lot for one dude. And I mean, I already work 50 hours a week, right? Streaming, right? But, I mean, we can do it at the same time. Not to mention this project car took the whole damn thing apart, but whatever. Are we going to get a rotisserie build? The Coronet probably needs it at this point, dude. I'm kind of figuring out what we should do with it. It's getting bad. I'll show you when we bring it in here. What I got to do if we're gonna do that, we're gonna take that car completely apart. I need to find a place for this. I do not want my red truck outside during the winter. Yeah, no, don't want that. I got to find a place to put this. I got to find a place to store it because that Coronet resto is going to be hardcore. It's going to be crazier than this one. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions about cars, like, you can usually ask me. Questions about spacecraft, questions about cars, I got you. I'll answer them whenever. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. Yeah, I am avoiding very much a junkyard on my property. All my cars move. They all move under their own power. The Coronet doesn't move very far because the brake line's blue, but it runs. All right? It runs, and you can use the e-brake to move it around. Once again, not ideal, but my garage is kind of full right now. It's full with this crappy Chevy now. All good. If you truly want to save it, build a rotisserie. I was thinking about, well, Hellfish, what I was really thinking about, and this project is way beyond my expertise, and that's kind of why I want to try it. No harm, no foul. I want to see if we can make it into a two-door. Yep. I got to take the whole car apart anyway. Might as well, because they don't make repops for a sedan. I've been doing research. They only make reproduction parts for two-door 69 Coronets, not four doors. No one makes four-door stuff because no one cares about the four doors. We could take the whole thing apart, triangulate it, put it on a rotisserie. I know how to do that. I mean, I know the theory behind it. I've never done it, but what year is the Coronet? It's a 69, Rem. Yeah, I always like a challenge. I like challenging myself. It's how you learn. If you're not learning, you're getting stupider. Yes, stupider. It's a Monday, so I'm just kind of stupid by default. But yeah, if you're not learning new things, like I said, that's the thing about wrenching. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it until you get to a point that you know it's cold. If you don't, yeah, you're going to get worse. You're either growing or you're shrinking. There's no third direction. That's with any skill, guys. That's an important thing to understand. That is with any skill. You got to get to the point where you know it cold that you won't forget, right? And that's why you go to school for long periods of time, because you go until it sinks in and you know it cold. That's really important to understand. That's what I mean about wrenching. You got to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. If you don't keep doing it, you're going to get worse at it, right? Hey, Matt, 114 months. It's a Monday. I'm kind of stupid by default. That is too relatable. Yep. Fundraise the Coronet project. Well, I have to get this thing working. I have to get this thing working because this thing needs to move under its own power, especially if I want to buy a storage unit and put it in it, a climate-controlled one. Or, ask if I can put it in, stored in someone's garage or something. Basically, if we're going to do a resto like that, I need the entire garage. We got to get this stuff out of here. But I don't want to move this because this is my baby. This is my truck. I bought this thing. Well, actually, I didn't. To be honest, I've always said I bought it just because I was worried about people judging me. The uncle gave this to me as a graduation present because I graduated college when I was 20. Yeah, bachelor's degree when I was 20. So he was impressed that I graduated college like a moron like me, so he actually gave it to me as a graduation gift. It wasn't worth that much then. It's like a couple $1,000. Now it's worth way more than that, which who saw that coming? There was a time where no one gave a frick about old cars. But yeah, now that you guys know who the uncle is, yeah, because you saw him in some of the streams. Computer animation and CAD system. Nobody likes to show off. Yep. Anyway. Guys, I'll be right back. I got to go down to the house real quick. I got to use the restroom, and I'm not doing it with the microphone on. I did that once, and it was very strange. So, yeah, I will be right back 1 second. Let me turn on some background noise, and then we'll get back to it. When you got to go, you got to go. I had to. Right when I was going down to use the restroom, Bree had to go to a business event, so we have the dog now for a little while, for a couple of hours. So I don't want to work on the car when he's here. So hey, where you going? Hey, come on. We'll head back in the office. Keep talking about cars if we want, but yeah, we got the ride height set, so that's good. So. All right, give me a second.
Okay, I'm back. How's the progress on the Camaro? NASA press conference going on now. What's the press conference about, Creeper? What is this one about? Oh, it's about Europa Clipper.
Assembled in our clean room. JPL is the world leader in planetary and deep space.
Oh. All right. Let's cover it then. We'll start space news a little bit early. I got the dog with me.